Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I am good.
How's the ankle?
It's up in the air, but it's there.
Yeah, orthopedic stuff takes time.
Oh, yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
A lot more time than you've got right now, I would warrant to say.
Yeah. At least I got the plan when it could happen, so that it was at least, if there had to be a non-convenient time, at least I could make it the minimal non-convenient time.
Right. Well, you want to be able to ice skate in December, right?
I don't know if my ice skating days are still here.
I'm thinking you want to stay off of ice skates.
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, I'm trying to log in. Here we go. Okay. Okie doke. Here I am. Ta-da.
All right. Well, it looks like we got several people logged in. So
Hey.
I'll give it just a minute to see if we can get everybody in.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you are.
Yeah.
I can see you, but you can't see me because I won't buy a new computer. Especially not in September.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to attempt to get everybody muted here, and we'll get started. And then as we go throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you're welcome to enter those into the chat box, and I'll try to keep an eye on those as well.
Okay.
And I muted me instead of everybody else. Okay. All right. We will go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And we are going to record our session today so that we can hopefully share this with some others as we go on. The resource that we're going to talk about today is the new checklist function that I've worked together with CCSA to help update and kind of reinvent. There were some checklists in the past for operating a studio and getting started with a studio, but they really kind of needed to be refreshed and updated. So CCSA invited me to help them with these new checklists. And I do want to clarify, we had a few changes along the way. So if some of you are expecting to talk more about the financial statement side, we will do a little bit of that today, but our process changed just a little bit. So we're going to probably separate that out into a separate session at some point in the future. So of the sessions, or of the checklist that we've got today, there are two new resources. One is the Strategic Business Operations Checklist, which is meant for existing studios and those of you who have been in business for a few years. If you are new to owning a studio or are looking at potentially owning a studio, we have a separate resource for a pre-open guide. Now, this is one that even if you have been open for several years, I recommend you go take a look at it. There may be some other little things that slipped through the cracks a while back that you want to go back and revisit or rethink. So within our pre-opening, just to kind of give you an overview of what this is meant to do, we're looking at things like the demographics, the things that you would do if you were coming in as a brand new potential studio and looking at your competition. You would want to be looking at the competitive analysis, who's out there in your competition, what do they do, how can you outperform them. You would also be looking at things like your product mix. And obviously with PYOP Studios, this is an ever-changing mix of products and new things, and things come and go. So you want to revisit those. Also going back to the financial side of this, when you're in the process of getting up and running, you probably did some projected financials just to determine what your capital needs would be, and also a break-even analysis. The break-even analysis will tell you what you need as far as how much money would be necessary just to kind of cover the nuts, so to speak, each month as you operate your studio. And that will probably change throughout the life of your studio because some of the variables change, like your rent amounts and things like that. It also goes through a little bit about startup marketing and how to get your domain in place and your website and all of your social marketing strategies. So that's just a little bit on the pre-opening. From the nature of who we've got on the call today, I think most folks are in an already open studio. So we're going to spend the majority of our time today on the existing studios. Okay? I'm going to go back a little bit now that it seems like we've got everybody kind of settled in online. I am Donna Bordeaux. I am a CPA who works with pottery studios across the country. And using that knowledge, we're able to take really specific industry targets and share those amongst all of our clients. And also, one of our goals is to help the CCSA membership group also be successful by having good financial tools to manage their business and using those industry performance topics so that we can help everybody succeed and create a very worthwhile industry to be in. I am located in South Carolina, but as you can see, the magic of the internet, it doesn't really matter where I am. I can still help you from anywhere in the country. So hopefully that will make this a good resource, and I would be happy to be a sounding board for you if you have other questions on things that you see today. Don't hesitate to ask me or email me. Okay? So on the Strategic Business Operations Checklist, we're going to go through, and I'm just going to highlight. There's a lot of information here, so I'm going to highlight some of the upper topics. Again, if you have questions about these and you want to sign into your chat, you can message me there, spend a little more detail on some of those things as well. Okay? So on the sales tax side, this is a very important topic that I would urge everybody to take a look at. Obviously, when you get set up initially, you find out some things, and in a lot of cases, sales tax laws may have changed. If you've been in business for more than 5 years, sales tax is an ever-evolving issue. You may want to research with your state and double-check. Many states have now taken the position that labor that becomes a part of a finished project or product is taxable now. So it used to be that we said anything that could be written off as labor, whether it's renting your studio, a firing fee, something like that, or custom painting, maybe those things were not taxable in the past, but in many states they now are taxing those. So care should be taken to check out your state. If you have a specific state issue, I work with many states, and some states I've already done the research on, some we have not, but I'd be happy to help out in those regards or give you some pointers as to where to go and how to get the detail to back yourself up. One of the problems with sales tax is that if you are a victim of sales tax, meaning you did not collect the sales tax on something that you really should have, guess what? You can't go back and talk to your customers and ask them to reimburse you for that sales tax. You're just out the money. So sometimes you may have to take a more cautious position and go ahead and collect the sales tax if it's kind of in the gray area, rather than be caught hanging out to dry when they decide that is taxable and you've not got any of the money for it. Okay? So that's one area of caution I would take a look at. Another area that I get a lot of questions about commonly is on entity selection. Perhaps when you started your entity, you didn't have any real rhyme or reason to the selection, but from a taxation perspective as well as a legal protection status, you may want to look at how you're formed, whether you're an LLC or a corporation, a sole proprietor, a partnership. Those things can make a huge difference, especially as you grow your business, in how much you pay in taxes and how well you're protected. So definitely I recommend revisiting those periodically with your accountant and maybe with your attorney as well. If you've already formed an LLC or an a corporation within your state, you probably don't have to revisit it with your attorney, but you may want to talk with your accountant about the structure to make sure it's still appropriate for you. And if there is a point at some point in the future where you should be keeping an awareness out there to say, okay, at this point I need to make a change so that you know when it's coming. Okay? All right. Another area where we have a lot of common questions comes in the realm of payroll. And we know this is a never-ending concern about hiring and firing. And so you'll see that the statements we've made here in the checklist are pretty brief because this is a very expansive area. You may want to consider having an HR specialist that you can work with in your local area to help you with things like business policies and procedures. When can you fire somebody? What should you do in hiring somebody? How do you keep track of all that information? So that is something I would definitely recommend. On the firing part, this always comes up as a very common question. How can I fire somebody? Can I just tell them I don't want them to be there anymore, or do I have to go through specific steps to do that? Definitely, this is one where it's a state-by-state issue. Some states allow at-will employment, and that means you don't have to give a reason or establish just cause to fire somebody. And if you're in one of those states, you don't want to give a cause, because then you lean into the area of being under a cause, and you may have to avoid those or press the issue of wrongful termination. So if you're in an at-will state, and you can just do a quickie search on the internet through your state and ask if it's at-will employment. If you're in an at-will employment state, you can just tell somebody, hey, I don't think it's working out. We're going to have to let you go. And that's all you need to do, okay? So, but do keep good documentation and records on these. They may come back with unemployment cases that you need to have some information for. And so you want to keep good documentation. We're also now working with some systems of timekeeping where they will be able to keep a lot of those records internally as an HR filing system for you. You know, if you've got somebody who's constantly late, who didn't show up for a shift, who decided vacation sounded like more fun today, well, let's not show up. You can document those things right inside of that timekeeping system and have an all-in-one place to go. So you may want to take a look at that. All right, payroll processing itself is obviously a headache because there's a lot of different masters to answer to, different taxation agencies for every state, different rules for every state. It's a lot to work with. So from the payroll processing area, I do not recommend that this is an area where you should skimp and try to do it yourself. We have great resources out there, and it does not have to be an affordable thing to have somebody help you with payroll processing. If it eliminates or saves you from having one penalty issue in a year, you will have paid for that payroll service and probably then some, because the penalties are very steep. I just had a case yesterday where an employer signed up in the end of June in New Mexico and didn't start paying employees until July. They received a $50 penalty notice because they didn't file an unemployment report that was a zero report on time. So, you know, I know $50 isn't a whole lot there, but those kinds of little piddly penalties take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they can be very substantial when it comes to the IRS. The other thing is I never want anybody to use their employees' payroll dollars from taxes to operate their business. This is a surefire way to get yourself into big trouble, and the IRS will just be all over you. They can be all over you personally as well. So it's just not an area you want to mess with, and they're very stiff with these penalties nowadays and not very lenient at all. Okay? You may also want to check out, I've got a blog post listed here, and within these checklists, if you use the ones that Dina sent out, they're interactive, so the links in here are live. You can just click on them, and it will take you directly to the site. Within our web blog, we have a post about how much payroll is too much. I often get a lot of questions about what percentage should my payroll be. This will help you kind of walk through that session. All right. Let's take a look at point of sale for a moment and inventory. This is another big area where we have a lot of questions, okay? With point of sale, obviously, if you've been out on the chat board recently, you've seen there are lots of options out there and lots of people doing it a lot of different ways. If you don't have a point of sale, I highly recommend that you go ahead and invest in one. No matter what system it is, invest in one to make sure that you have proper information to make good management decisions. You need to know what pieces are turning quickly, more than just a gut instinct. You need to see in a glimpse which ones are priced properly versus which ones are priced too low, too high, to make sure that you're able to keep that inventory turning. When you walk into your studios and you go see that bisque or that glass or that canvas or any of your supplies sitting in a shelf or in the back room, visit your money. That is where your money is at. So it is very important that your inventory has to keep a quick turn. When we talk about turn, I'm looking for inventory to turn at least 9 times in a year. That means you should have about 30 to 45 days of inventory on hand at any given time. So that's not a whole lot. If you are selling $200,000 worth of product in a year, that would equate to, pull up our handy calculator here, 200,000. We should be at about 18% at most for cost of goods sold. Divide that by 12. So a 30-day turn of inventory means you have no more than $3,000 worth of inventory in your studio at any given time. Now, inventory we don't necessarily count as your paints or brushes or supplies, but more the resale items, your bisque, your glass that you're going to resell, clay, those kinds of things. Okay? So if your inventory is up there and it's not turning, or you have some non-moving inventory, do what you can to dump that and get rid of it, okay? Because that's bogging you down. I've had many studios who say, my point of sale looks like I'm profitable, my financial statements look like I'm profitable, but I don't have any money. I can hardly make payroll, especially, I hear that a lot in September. If that is the case, again, the same answer. Go visit your money. It's probably in your shelves. Okay? So watch the inventory turns. If you don't have a point of sale, these numbers are going to be near impossible or very cumbersome to come up with. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you don't have some system of tracking for your inventory. You may also see, if you did put inventory into place, you might see some better habits already developed because you may have some theft issues. It's just a fact of life that if you don't track inventory, your staff will know it, your customers will know it, and things will float away. So we don't want that to happen to you. Okay? From a point of sale system capacity, I know many people ask me questions about which system should I use. We use a lot of our customers use Vend. Lightspeed is also another system. QuickBooks Point of Sale is still out there. It's not a cloud-based system, which I highly recommend these days. So you're looking at, this is kind of becoming an antique slowly. So I would definitely recommend a cloud-based system. Also, since we finalized this checklist, Clover has also become a partner with CCSA and has a system available as well in combination with merchant processing system. Okay? So check those out. If you have questions on those, there's a good bit of information on the chat board about different systems there. If you'd like a 30-day demo, the link here will take you directly there, and you can get a 30-day demo free of Vend as well. Okay? All right. A couple of other things based on financials. As I mentioned, we're going to touch on the financials a little bit here, but not as in-depth as we had originally anticipated. Key performance indicators. This is, again, one of those things where you need to have all of your systems in line so that you can monitor the key performance indicators of your business. This is similar to your dashboard. When you get in your car, if you couldn't monitor how quickly you were doing, if your engine was running out of gas or running out of oil, you wouldn't be able to manage that car well. So the same happens with a business. If you don't have a dashboard to let you monitor the key performance indicators of your business, it's very difficult to manage, and you could run out of gas. We don't want that. So from key performance indicators, the things we like to watch are the cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales, your labor as a percentage of sales. Those are the top 2 things. We're obviously also watching revenue numbers this year over last year at this point, this year to date over last year to date at this point. What do we think we're going to need in anticipation of year-end and our hopefully very busy holiday season? I've listed a couple of live links here for you on performance indicators for both inclusive and non-inclusive studios. Includes cost of goods sold, labor, and the rent numbers as well. So take a look at those videos if you've not seen those, and that should give you some ample indication and a good place to get started. Now, when we talk about financials, I understand completely. I'm the accounting guru. I love numbers. I love looking at financials. I'm willing to bet if I took a straw poll right now, we don't really have anybody who would jump up and down and get excited about financials like I would. However, when you see what the results are of looking at these, I think you might change your mind. You first off have to have up-to-date, accurate information. So if your system of recording accounting transactions is not up-to-date, is not accurate, it's kind of like looking at garbage. It might not help you do much. It may help you with a little bit, but in order to be highly effective in managing your business, you need accurate information. That way you can watch your goals. You can look at those key performance indicators like the cost of goods sold, the labor cost, the advertising. Your CPA should be playing a crucial role in helping you look at these statements and looking at your progress throughout the year. Okay? One of the things that I do with all of our studios that we're looking at is, of course, I have very big database of numbers that I can use to analyze problems and get down to the point of which specific things are causing you the most issues. Whereas a generalist accountant will not have those targets. They really don't have any place to go look on the web and say, what should your cost of goods sold be? What should your advertising costs be? And your rent, those kinds of things. That information is very proprietary to what we're doing here because we are working with a great volume of studios all at once. Okay? So looking at that information is going to be a key place for you to help you grow your business. Especially this September is a great stopping point in looking at tax planning. I urge you, if you're not doing tax planning, go spend the money on this right now and get this done because this will create a tax savings for you. And you should, if you're working with somebody who's very proactive, be able to generate way more tax savings than it costs you to do this kind of a service. Should be your best money spent. In our tax planning that we do on a mid-year basis, we're looking at what things should be implemented before the end of the year. What are the projections of items that we should be looking at to make sure that we have those things in place by the end of the year. Okay. I do have a couple of questions that have come in on my chat, and I'm going to answer those. I also have Pam, if you want to chime in with your question, I'll be happy to unmute you here. Pam, are you there?
I've lost the audio.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I just keep losing the audio.
I'm not sure if that's a function of the web service I'm not sure if it's on your end or my end. Is anybody else having that same problem? If you are, if you'll chime in on chat. Okay. Dina, you've got it too?
Yep.
Okay. Well, hopefully this is all recording from my end, so it should have the full audio on the record. I apologize. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this part of it up, and then hopefully, again, if there are any pieces that you missed or have specific questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Okay? All right. A couple of last pieces. First off, the hours of operation is one other area you want to kind of look at. You don't want to make changes in this too often because you'll confuse your customers. But do take a look because initially many studios are setting up the hours of operations based on what's convenient for the studio owner. And you may want to make sure that matches up with your customer schedules. Okay? So that is definitely another area to look at to make sure that you're optimized in making sure that your customers can find you and give you their money. Okay? The last piece that I wanted to mention are business plans. Many people think about business plans as a place that, or something that you would use as a tool to start your business only. Okay? This should not be the case. It should be an ongoing, updating, revitalizing document that is always in place. Because as your business changes, you want to make sure your business plan stays up to date. This is also a fabulous tool if you're ever approached by somebody who would like to buy your business or you would like to sell your business. It's kind of the roadmap of where your business would like to go or where it's anticipating it can be. So make sure that you're constantly updating that business plan. And again, I mentioned September, February, those are great months to sit back and reflect a little bit on how things are going with your business. So this may be something you want to pull out. It's also kind of fun if you haven't looked at it in a while to look and say, man, I really thought I was going to do that when I set this up. There's sometimes some fun things you can get out of there. Okay. Also, urge your staff to help you with this. You don't have to be a one-man show on all of this. Make sure that you involve your staff in helping you. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Let them show you what they can do. If they fail or can't give you what you expected, what have you really lost? Probably they did it in some downtime anyhow. So make use of your staff as well. And it can be a fun and challenging thing for them too. They may feel like they're more part of the business operations if you involve them in these types of tasks as well. So I urge you to go back and take a look at this checklist. There are lots of things in here that we did not cover today, but go through it, check off the things you think you've got a handle on, highlight some things you may want to look at, and make a little checklist of where to go, okay? We are also open to feedback on these issues. So this is not a static document that will never make changes. We hope to constantly update it and let it evolve along with CCSA and the industry. So if you see some things you'd like us to add into the mix that maybe were omitted, or some items where you would like to see some changes, feel free to let us know. You're welcome to let Dina know or come directly to me, and I'll be happy to work on those things as well. I appreciate everybody's time in joining us today. Again, I apologize if there were any audio issues. Hopefully the recording will capture the whole thing, and that should be available later on today. All right. Also, I got a few comments from folks. I'll reply back to those personally after our session. And if you have any others, you're welcome to email me. My email is donna@pyopaccounting.com. I look forward to talking with you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.